Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Amy, if you could start with the roll call.
Yes, good evening, Commissioner Admin,
Here.
Commissioner Pratt,
Present.
Commissioner Byers,
Present.
Commissioner Webster,
Present.
Commissioner Woolham,
Here.
Chief Talon,
Here.
Legal Counsel Aaron Haynes,
Here.
and I'm Board Secretary Amy Oakley.
Okay, now we will be moving on to public comment. If you have a public comment you'd like to make, you could raise your hand. And Amy, did we happen to get anything in before the meeting? Okay. Okay, I don't see any hands up, so we will move forward with the approval of the meeting agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Board discussion and possible action items, subcommittee report on Station 54.
Yes. All right, let's see what Rick has to say.
Okay, this is Commissioner Webster. We haven't had a meeting yet. We just got the documentation at the last meeting with the budget review and stuff. We haven't had time to set up meetings. So I did get the prints blown up and did some review on them. And so we will schedule in the next month at least one meeting and probably spend more time in January after the Christmas season. And
Okay.
that'll say same thing with our subcommittee for the other buildings too, the outbuildings.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Discussion on the Station 57 generator.
So thank you. I just wanted to provide a quick update. You may recall that I was talking about some of our capital items that we needed to work on replacing. I found out that that generator is in much more dire need of replacement than I had originally, thought. It'll only run for about an hour and then it breaks, and then they have to repair it and then and get it running again. So I've authorized Chief Hochstein to start researching bids and through MRSC to look again and replace. I don't have anything in front of me. I just want to give you an update that it's something that we need to move on immediately as soon as possible. So once I get those bids and all that, I'll make sure that I include you guys in what that looks like.
Okay,
I know that I did just a quick Google search, for a generator that size, it's anywhere from 50 to 70,000. But that doesn't include installation and so forth, and it needs to go outside, needs to be permitted and so forth. So it's I think we budgeted 150,000 in our capital budget, but just want to give you an update on that.
thank you. Discussion on policy 1600. Amy had updated those.
And maybe I'll just put it on the screen.
That would be great.
So a little bit of background on this policy. The original policy that's posted on the website is very brief and references to department policies that are now defunct, like no longer exist, because they are North Shore admin policies that now those travel policies are in Shoreline. So what I did was I took the three documents and sort of merged them into one that's just specific for commissioners' expenses, both travel and non-travel. Any questions on so far? Okay, so there were a few areas that I highlighted because I didn't know kind of what direction to do. So like all our policies, I put them in a standard format of purpose, reference, responsibility, definitions. These were all copy pasted from the original North Shore policies. So there's a part highlighted that this was in the original 1600, where commissioners attending a conference, seminar, or training shall advise the board of the information obtained which I believe you do in your meetings. But then there's a sentence about relevant materials from the event shall be made available to the board and district personnel and maintained as a reference file, which is not happening. So I think if it's fine to have that as a policy, but we should follow that, or we just take that part out and the update is a verbal update at the board meetings.
If it was me, I think a verbal update is enough, but how do you feel about that?
I guess it depends, I guess what's our objective? I think that would be fine. I guess it depends on if you were attending like something that provided like commissioner training material that would be useful to all of us, like some piece of
Mhm.
new training that all commissioners would have. So that would be something that I think would be shared. I mean, I think we could either change it or leave it. I mean, it says relevant materials from the event shall be made available to the board and district personnel. So I guess I would say if there was nothing to bring back to share, then you don't have to. And if there was,
I suppose relevant's a little subjective.
yeah, so
Right,
I think
right.
it's not saying that every time you go, you have to bring back something and keep a file. It's just saying, as I interpret it, if there's something that is worth sharing, then bring it back and make it available.
Okay,
That's how I interpret it.
Commissioner Byers?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think the heart of it is that if you take something and learn something, you bring it back to show the board, we're paying for it. So it makes sense that that is in there. I don't know about keeping a file with goodie bags and stuff is
Mhm.
appropriate, but I think if relevant is then subjective, then it's fine in there or out of there either way.
Maybe
Okay.
I would propose maybe we just eliminate the
Second sentence.
where it says and maintained as a reference file. I would just say relevant materials for the event should be made available to the board and district personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And then that
Yeah.
kind of
That makes more sense.
makes it
to
a
me.
little bit, doesn't mandate that we create a file for every training, every event that we attend, but if there's something worth sharing, we can share it.
Okay, Commissioner Pratt, any comments?
No, that was essentially echoing my thoughts as well on that it's good to bring that stuff back if it's relevant. If it's not, then don't worry about it. And I don't think we need to maintain a reference file.
Commissioner Webster?
I feel the same way. Just leave it, scratch that little area and leave it, the rest of it.
All right.
And I'll just scroll down.
Mm-hmm.
The other highlighted areas. So this next one is just like procedures, so. It's around transportation expenses, including airfare and other public modes of transportation. Related to approved travel will normally be arranged for and or provided by the district. So this was, you have to think like it was copied and pasted from like that personnel, like firefighter policy. So, because I did take out some of the language around its preference to use a district vehicle, which the commissioners would not use. So
Correct.
I just went ahead and deleted that
Mhm.
part out. But this one, I don't know, I kind of wasn't sure.
I guess, I have a question on this. Lisa, I think you brought up this issue because you had attended some training and you basically were asking whether it would be possible for the district to like pre-register and make the arrangements, or if you need to do that and then get reimbursed.
Mhm.
And did you, as far as this policy goes, do you think it covers the concerns you brought up?
I think so. I think probably we can scratch, that the district. That it will be provided by the district because yes, and reimbursement, so I guess it depends on how you look at that. But it's not anything you can pre-do unless you need the exact mileage or something, but even then you couldn't do it. You'd still have to do it afterwards, so.
I mean, we can, try it as it is written, and if it turns out that it's posing a problem. I mean, it sounds like the way I interpret it is you would probably make your own arrangements and get reimbursed.
Mhm.
So, Is that okay with you?
Yeah, and that's what's been happening. I did just get, approval for a credit card through the district for us, so that we have a way to purchase things if the commissioners need them with using that versus paying out of pocket all the time. So I guess I don't,
Are there guidelines on that credit card?
yes.
Yes, yeah, there are
It's
some
pretty
financial
tight.
guidelines through.
Yeah.
The policy that we adopted 6 months ago. I don't remember.
Like I think it's 10 days you have to turn in your receipt.
Yeah, that's in here.
It's a tight time frame.
Okay,
And that
Um,
credit card has a $5,000 limit, so I think the idea is if you're going to a conference, you can use that for your registration, airfare, hotel. Meals, so you can just use that district card. And it'd be unlikely that a trip would be more than 5,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine that. Yeah, so I guess we can leave it in there and then see how it goes.
Okay. So this next part, I did check with Dawn. So there's, we created a form that, you can get an advance, like a check ahead of time for per diem and mileage. So those are the two areas where you can get an advance check. Or like if you didn't have a district credit card and you wanted an advance for those items. And I asked Dawn, you know, how many days?
We're gonna figure out that
That's
just.
not the power.
Oh, there we go.
I guess they're on a timer that the start of our meeting is the end of the workday.
Yeah, she requested 15 days ahead of time so that she has time to get a check.
Okay.
So if everyone's okay with that, I'll just put 15 days
Mm-hmm.
here. Okay, and
15 didn't
That-
print
where did
out
that
there.
um. Okay, so those were all the areas I had highlighted, but I did just want to bring up that there are three like forms attached to this policy. So the first form is a advanced per diem request form, and I can pull that up if you want me to, or if you want me to go through any other parts of the policy.
Maybe before we move into that, the only other question I have is, I know from a historic standpoint, when I first joined the board, in the past, they had issues with maybe, I think one of the commissioners was maybe the other commissioners viewed that they were overusing their travel and other privileges. I guess what is the check and balance that we have on this one that is sort of like,
Yeah.
everybody agrees, yeah, that's a good thing for you to go to versus just you heard about it and thought it was a good thing to go to.
Yeah.
So far, at least, I was gonna say what happened last year is I brought everything to the board and asked for approval. And I think that's definitely the way we should continue, just so there is the checks and balances.
Yeah, I saw that it says travel expenses in here, they need to be approved by the board, but I just wanted to. Travel expenses like 5.6, travel expenses must be authorized in advance by a majority of the board.
Mhm.
Right. And then 5.1 is that the budget amount is established each year during the budget process.
Oh, yeah.
And that each commissioner will be allocated 1/5 of that established budget for the year to be incurred in pursuit of district related activities allowed by state law.
Sure, and I guess the only thing I would suggest would be, I think that sounds quite reasonable. If we had a case like, say, Lisa was the only one who wanted to go to any of this stuff, nobody else used their budget, and we had excess budget, that maybe we have some flexibility to
Reallocate.
reallocate if you know, one commissioner has more of an interest and seems to be the main person doing that. And the other commissioners are okay with that.
Right,
If memory serves, we've done that in the past. And it just, you know, you bring that request to the board and we approve it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have to make a policy thing about that, because that, we have done that, so.
right, okay,
Okay, that satisfies my check and balance
Okay.
question.
okay,
And then just some highlights I'll point out, these were consistent with the policies from the past. Is that, commissioners will receive no reimbursement for travel less than 5 miles from your residence. And then no reimbursement for lodging or meals within 50 miles unless they're in conjunction with, and there's sort of 3 things, like meetings with government agencies, professional conference and organizational meetings, or job-related training and seminars. So otherwise, you're reimbursed for travel, like mileage, over 5 miles. And then you're reimbursed for meals and lodging over 50 miles, or if it's under 50, under these 3 circumstances.
okay, that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay, otherwise, I'll just bring up these 3 forms to like talk through them.
Mm-hmm,
So, okay, so this is A1. So this is if you were to request a check for per diem and mileage, you would, and I just put the instructions, these are copy pasted from the policy itself, but you'll submit this form to the finance specialist, Dawn, and I'll update that this will be 15 days prior to travel, and then if advanced travel payments for anticipated expenses less than $75 shall not be provided. If you want to change that amount, we can. It's just that's what was in the policy previously, so we keep that amount.
I think that's a fair amount. How do you feel about that?
I just don't understand why it's there.
I think it's in case that, not to go through the effort of cutting a check and in advance.
Okay.
Unless it's something that's more substantial,
Mhm.
but you can set that level, whatever you want. You know, if it's gonna be $55, we'll just use the department credit card or pay out of your own pocket and get reimbursed kind of thing, as opposed to in advance.
Mhm. Yeah, so these are for advanced checks if you don't have a credit card in the district. But it's just a pretty simple form. Mileage and per diem is all determined by the GSA rate, which changes every year. So there's links to that website at the bottom, but you just fill in number of meals, the rate, and miles and the rate, and sign it. For A2, this is what you would submit after 10 days after returning from travel, and you have to keep original receipts. And again, submit this to finance specialists. It looks very similar to the previous form, but it has transportation, has a lot of space for lodging, and then miscellaneous expenses. Miscellaneous might be taxi, Uber, parking, validation, parking, baggage fee, those things.
Okay,
Again, you sign below. And then the last one is, these are for an expense report. This would be for goods and services not related to travel that would have been purchased. Maybe if you didn't have airfare, is that right?
or is it, like the clothing allowance or?
Yeah,
or
yeah, that
something
would
like
go like
that?
under miscellaneous, so there's no lodging on here. And actually, now that I think about it, let me just go back to A2. If it has airfare, I might have to add that line. I'll add a line for, well, I guess transportation, airfare, taxi, etc. So there is a line for it.
Okay.
So basically, the difference between A2 and A3 is that there's no lodging or travel expenses. And
Okay,
that's it. So usually we present a policy and then vote on it at the next meeting.
okay,
So you wanna make those minor.
I'll make
modifications
those,
and-
yeah, I'll make those minor changes and take off the highlighting and then
perfect.
it'll be on the agenda for next.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Amy. We have no board resolutions. The consent agenda is next.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. We're now on to reports, the fire chief report.
I do have one thing to add, but first, was there any questions or anything regarding my report?
Not that I had, but. No, Rick's saying no, okay.
I'd like to share with you that late this afternoon, we finished up our deputy chief of operations promotional process. We had 3 candidates, all very good, qualified, capable candidates. If I had 3 positions, I would have given 3 promotions. But it was a difficult decision, but we ended up choosing our current training chief, Andres Orms, as our next deputy chief of operations. That'll fill in for Mark Foster, who is retiring next year. And I was checking an email just went out on it, so it's out there now too. He will start doing some informal transition immediately as his schedule and workload and all that allows for it and accommodates it. And then the hard transition will start on April 1st. And then sometime between April 1st and when Mark actually physically leaves, we will make the transition and he will start becoming the deputy chief itself. So there's like a 3-phase thing, an informal and then a formal or hard transition. And then at some point in that, when everybody feels comfortable, then you become the actual deputy chief, and Mark will flip to the shadowing and mentoring, phase. So we will also have other trickle down promotions and all that. So we're just in this perfect storm, pun intended, with all the monsoon of promotions right now. So there'll be some other promotions that we'll be working on actually even later this week, and then some trickle downs as well. So.
Okay,
Well, congratulations to Orms.
yeah,
I do have some questions on your report. So we don't need to get into depth on some of these, but mentioned in negotiations, a new TRT centric Station 51 concept. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that, and will we learn more about that in the future?
Yeah, so we had introduced an idea of a moving all of our TRT people and so forth, or I shouldn't say all of them, but assigned personnel here of being TRT,
Which means
I'm sorry, technical rescue technician. So sorry,
some people might not.
yeah, rescue. Yeah, because the rescue's here, and it might have been too big of a lift to do all of the stuff that we were thinking about doing. But we are looking at moving some of our personnel here starting January 1st to be able to cross staff, when available and when we can, to put the rescue into a better position to be responding on. We'll also be looking at changing some of the run cars to add it to other incidents and so forth. It's not the full-on TRT centric concept that we had been discussing, but it is an interim step, or it's a step forward towards that, and then down the road, hopefully we get to continue moving that direction.
Okay, thank you. And then also on your report, under a consortium, a new draft North King County Training Consortium interlocal agreement is being reviewed.
That's correct.
Yeah, is there anything, any
So
earth shattering out of that?
Don't think that there's earth shattering, that's that.
Significant.
Okay. So I actually, I mean, I will say there was there was definitely some concerns with the ILA, and this goes back even a couple of years, you know, that as the original NKCTC, the North King County Training Consortium was established, we had an ILA, but at that time it was 4 agencies: Shoreline, North Shore, Bothell, and Woodinville. And then as things have, you know, changed, evolved, you know, Woodinville is now with ESET, so they're, you know, not there. And we have a contract between North Shore and Shoreline, so we needed to reevaluate the ILA, and there were some weaknesses in the ILA that didn't address when we had a partner that left, for example, and what happens to their votes? You know, can they continue to vote while they're still in a, you know, almost like a laissez-faire kind of situation where they're phasing out, but they can still vote or still not vote, or, you know, it affects the operations of the consortium. There was quite a few things like that. There were some weaknesses as far as it came up with labor relations, you know, and what positions there were going to be, how they were going to get filled and so forth. This doesn't go all the way to getting into the minutia on that. This is the framework of the legal context of allowing us to operate as a training consortium. So we also, and I've got edits on this, I just need to finish them and kick them back both to labor and to Bothell to take a look at. Bothell's already looked at some of it. And so once I'm done with the ILA, then I'm going to switch to the guiding documents and update that, which is actually, that is the specific details, the minutia of, you know, how do we do a promotional process to fill positions? What does the staffing structure look like? What are the expectations? Think of it like almost like a CBA or a policy that's going to help direct, you know, how we operate as a consortium, because we've done a lot of this stuff out of, I got, you know, I want to say thanks to the labor of just agreeing to things kind of, you know, because it was the right thing to do, but we haven't codified it in any kind of documents or anything like that. And I mean, to the point of even as the concept of the consortium itself, we were on a whiteboard upstairs and we were like, okay, we all agreed to these things. We took a picture of it and like, okay, that was the framework of starting it, you know, but we need to do a better job of, you know, detailing some of these things out, especially as things have changed. And they potentially could continue to change depending on what Bothell wants to do, you know, if they stay standalone, then nothing changes. If they want to regionalize, you know, then is it with us or is it with a different entity? Does that mean they get out there leaving the consortium? Does that, you know, do we have a consortium? I mean, there's a lot of these things that we need to, you know, work on. So, but the first step is to make sure that we have the legal context and framework that we want, you know, to govern, you know, not only the 2 partners, because now we're down to the Shoreline and Bothell as partners in the consortium, but what if another department wanted to add on to it and come in? How do we, you know, address that? Once I have that all done, I will kick it to legal for review.
Okay.
It was reviewed by back in at that originally it was Brian Snur and Bothell's and Woodinville's and maybe Matt Paxton even represented North Shore. Is he here? You know, this goes back quite a few years, you know. So it was originally looked at by legal. I will kick it back to legal for another review.
Okay.
Chief Cowan, this is Commissioner Pratt.
Yes.
Has Bothell committed to the consortium through 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
That was something that was important for us, you know, to make sure that we were pre-planning for the next year with training needs, schedules, budgeting, everything. So yeah, they've committed to 2024.
I know they have a city council meeting tonight, and I understand that Chief Reiser might be giving a presentation on making suggestions on the future of the Bothell Fire Department.
That's correct. So they're going to tonight was kind of an introduction of all the different options, advantages, disadvantages. Just kind of a walkthrough of everything that's potentially available to them. And I suppose they could make a decision tonight to stay standalone, but I believe, I don't know exactly what they're gonna decide to do tonight, but I believe what they're gonna do is give further direction to Chief Horizon and staff to narrow down the focus and come back in January and make a decision as to what they're gonna do. It's potential, I mean, potentially they could make a decision even tonight to stay standalone. But if they don't do standalone, what I'm expecting is that they ask or give some direction to Chief Horizon on narrowing the focus. So
Yeah, I think their meeting's at 6 tonight.
it's the last agenda item though, so it probably won't be until
Okay,
7 or.
yeah, and
Later.
their decision making obviously could be affected because they'll have different council members.
That's correct too, yeah. So, so I don't know more than that, I did look at some of the agenda items and the materials that were out there and it was basically a really good briefing of all the different options, advantages, disadvantages. What they also did hats off to them. They went out and contacted other departments that had gone through regionalization to get the pros and cons, the learning points or opportunities that they had. So they reached out, they went to South Harvest County Fire and to someplace down south. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I can't remember. But another place down south to take to get their feedback on some of the questions. So
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Pratt?
Yes, thank you. I didn't know exactly where they were at in that process, if they had put out a request for proposal yet. If they were going to target that request for proposal or if it was going to be kind of broadcast to a wide range of local jurisdictions. But it sounds like they're still contemplating even maintaining standalone organization. So
yeah, I believe they've broken it down into like 3 different things or 3 different general directions. Either stay standalone, what can they do in the shorter term, and that's easier to do, which means not going to the public to vote on, and then long term or more complicated, potentially longer term stuff of voting on that would require a vote of they're in the city of either like an RFA or de-annexation or merging or etc. So I think they're looking at 3 different kind of areas, to look at, and I guess we'll see.
Any other questions on the chief's report? Okay. We're gonna move on to commissioner reports. I do sort of feel like we already hit that. So is there anything else that anyone needed to discuss?
I have a report.
Okay.
I got elected.
Oh, congratulations.
It was surprising.
Yes. Congratulations. We're happy to have you.
So actually on that vein as well, Barb Sullivan and David Harris also got reelected.
Oh,
Good for them. Okay, legal counsel. Oop. Okay, legal counsel report, if there is one.
No report at this time. Nothing really happened this month. And I'm Chief, I'm Aaron Haynes. I work with Matt Paxton in our office in the fire and EMS group, and met with him before attendance day. He couldn't come, but nothing to report on our end.
Thank you. Okay, setting of future meeting agendas.
So there'll be a special meeting Tuesday, December 19th at 5 p.m. to approve the consent agenda. This is to kind of close out expenses and vouchers at the year end. So because it's a special meeting, we need to have the agenda locked and posted 24 hours in advance. So right now, the only agenda item is the approval of the consent agenda, unless there's something more urgent.
Okay,
Okay.
And just as a reminder, I will not be there or here that week, and so I think Chief Hochstein might be here, and I don't expect him to need to do anything, but just in case.
okay. And I did see, Mr. Lozier's on, who's our union president. Mr. Lozier, did you have anything you wanted to discuss?
Nothing to discuss for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then the next regular meeting is Tuesday, January 2nd. And at that meeting, my question is, Commissioner Idman, are you re-sworn in as a commissioner? I don't know that.
I think that should be the case, probably, you're right, that's a good question.
So I think that's on the agenda as
Okay.
well. And I think that happens, I'll have to look back at previous agendas, but I think that's like the very first item.
Oh, actually, another item that should be at that first meeting agenda is where we select our chair.
Yes, yeah, so I think we swear you in as official for the start of the calendar year. And then the other items will be the selection of the board chair, the vice chair, reports from subcommittee on Station 54 and subcommittee on the outbuildings at Station 51, approval of policy 1600. And at a previous meeting, there was a request to put on the January agenda a discussion of tax relief for North Shore citizens.
The
Yeah.
fire benefit charge.
Yeah.
Related, yeah, to the fire benefit charge. So if there are other items, just let me know, but that's what I know of now.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, if there's nothing further, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn our meeting.
Thank you.
5:37.
Nailed it.